So, first question is, what made you start in your financial journey?
Well, for me, I was drowning in debt, and I was about $250,000 in debt with the houses and, the cars and things like that. So I said, everybody around me is either in debt or living paycheck to paycheck. And I don't want to live like this. I don't want to struggle for the rest of my life. So I have to figure out a way to grow the money that I'm bringing in so that it will last longer than what I'm doing now. So that was the biggest, catalyst for me, is seeing the people around me and myself being in debt generation after generation after generation.
Yes, that's definitely one of those things that you're like, now I need to make that change.
Exactly. Because if I don't break the cycle, then who will? So if I have children one day, I want to be able to teach them so that they can teach their children, and it can go from there.
That's awesome. When you started and everything, as you increase your knowledge, what would you say is your number one money hack?
I think my number one money hack as a regular person, to not spend more than you have to. So for me, I have an apartment with 2 roommates, so we can split those bills. I cut my own hair. I don't go and pay someone to do that. I drive a car that's 18 years old that I found on Craigslist. It's always about keeping the money that you bring in so that, when I do have to have money for investments, I can grow that. Now, my biggest hack as a military person or as a veteran was definitely using my GI Bill to go to college. And when I got to college, I found out that the GI Bill, once it's applied, any scholarships that I received would come back to me. So Once I got those scholarships back, I used that money for investing, and I grew my portfolio with other people's money.
That's one of the best money hacks I've heard. Especially for people that are veterans, like you've mentioned and everything. Going back to the beginning of your financial journey, who would you say is some of your influences or inspirations in this space?
The people that I look up to that are, on a national level would be definitely like Dr. Boyce Watkins or Dr. Claude Anderson, Robert F. Smith. A lot of people know him because he's a billionaire, and he decided to pay for all of the graduating class of Morehouse when he was their guest speaker. And an entrepreneur that I really love and respect, I've never met her obviously, but CATHY Hughes. She is the owner of Radio One, which is the biggest Black owned radio network, and she also owns TV One, which is the only Black television network in the country. So these are people that when I'm working out, I'll put my headphones on and I'll listen to their interviews, and I'll try to figure out how they went from being regular people to being these icons.
Yes, for sure. Especially knowing like representation matters. So it's seeing someone that you could easily relate to and everything.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of my favorite entrepreneurs to go from the bottom to the top would be Shawn Carter. As a person who also does music and things like that, you see, I always live by the mentality, if he can do it, I can do it. And so I respect anybody who climbs that totem pole of success to the top.
Nice. So my next one is, I know, you're able to obviously enjoy your fruits of your labor and the money you've made. Name one thing you choose to spend extravagantly on.
I'm going to give us a 2-part answer. So extravagantly, so this week I took all of my money out of the stock market and I spent like $175,000 cash on a house. So for me, that's a big purchase to take. I'm never going to have a mortgage, and that's a extravagant expense. But on a much lower level, I think an extravagant expense would be me traveling over the last 3 years, because I've been to many, many countries in my life. But over the last 3 years, we've gone to Dubai, Australia, and South Africa. But even, the flights to Australia, that flight was like $490 round trip, and South Africa was $700 round trip. So it's still very minimal.
Nice. I love that. I love that you said it, your house being paid off. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm a big fan of not having debt. That's where my philosophies and a lot of other people who deal with money, they tend to clash, because I don't like debt. I've never had a credit card, and I try to not borrow other people's money. I want to pay it off as soon as I possibly can.
Your money is your money. I love that. What would you say the best advice you ever received? It doesn't necessarily have to be personal finance. It could just be life life in general?
The best advice I've received most recently, I had a sit down with a guy who was a partner at a law firm. I was telling him that, hey, I'm thinking about writing a book and I'm thinking about doing these things. And he said, well, tell me your story. And I told him my story. He said, you don't need to be a lawyer. He said, lawyers work for rich people. You have a story and you have a bright mind. You're going to have to decide either you're going to be a rich person or you're going to work for rich people. And he said, bet on yourself. So I did that. And I, went out and I started to tell my story, and it got picked up by CNBC and Black Enterprise and, Yahoo Finance and Business Insider. And it all came from his advice of bet on yourself. Don't just go out to be an attorney. I'm a partner at a law firm. One day I should be your attorney.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That
So it was a really great meeting.
So with all those different articles you've mentioned, like Yahoo Finance and everything, what would you say your favorite piece of content or place you've been featured in?
Absolutely, without a doubt, 100% hands down, was the feature in Black Enterprise. So the vice president of Black Enterprise, Alfred Edmond Jr., reached out to me and we sent him a book, and he actually read the book. And then he wrote a beautiful piece explaining in the most articulate fashion what the book was, because my book isn't a grandioso book about finance. I don't have that knowledge. I am a novice. I have no license. I have no background. I have no degree in it, but I went out and did it. And I wanted to share my story, and he captured the essence of the book so perfectly. And it's one of those things where I grew up reading Black Enterprise, so I know about it, and I know about the founder, Earl Graves Sr., and I never in my wildest dreams imagined I would be connected with it. That's one of those things that I have printed out and is hanging on my wall.
Oh, that's so awesome. That's kind of like your platinum plaque almost, Who would you be interested in seeing how you money?
There's a gentleman who reached out to me after I was featured on Yahoo, and his name is Carlos Osvaldo Gomez. He wrote a book, and it's about stock market investing for kids, on teenage, because he teaches at a school out in California. His book is phenomenal. It's a great, great, great book. It's very simple. It has great activities in it. And I would love to see him doing an interview to see his perspective on some of these questions as well.
Nice. I'll definitely check him out and everything. What are you up to?
Well, I graduate law school in about a week, so I'll start studying for the bar very soon. I have got rid of all my stocks and switched my attention to real estate. So that's why I made the purchase for the home. And so my focus right now is kind of real estate and law. Now that I'm in Memphis, I moved back to Memphis, Tennessee, and I want to create a new database for individuals who are having difficulty finding employment due to their former incarceration. So I want to help those individuals to lower the rates of recidivism and help them find jobs.
So awesome. I appreciate your time. Definitely. We'll put all your links in the description down below. You guys have a great one.